chronic issue and it's really disrupting your everyday life, you really need to find out what you're dealing with. And that's why it's so important to get the right lab work. And unfortunately, a lot of physicians do very general lab testing, which is okay. You know, they do complete blood count, they'll do glucose panel, a lipid panel, but they're not necessarily checking for things that you need to know to determine why you're not feeling well. And one thing that's very important to get looked at is your hormones. And that's checking your cortisol levels, because that's going to test your energy output and your adrenals, looking at your sex hormones, which is testosterone, DHEA, estrogen, progesterone, and also looking at your thyroid. The thyroid is huge, because if your thyroid function is slow and it's underactive, you can feel a lot of fatigue and really not feel well. So it's important to have all of that in range and really be aware of what you're dealing with. Also, you want to look at iron, your vitamin B levels, especially B12, and also look at vitamin D. Another thing that people don't always consider is that they're not necessarily getting a viral panel. So let's say, for example, someone is not feeling well and they may have what's called like a reactivation of a virus. So for example, this happened to a lot of people during COVID, when people became long haulers and they ended up saying, you know, prior to COVID, I ran, I hiked, I did yoga all the time, and now I don't understand, I was super healthy and now I'm sick. And the issue with that is that they may have thought they were healthy, but in the past, they may have had the Epstein-Barr virus, which is the virus that causes mono, and they may have had herpes, or some, even not even necessarily herpes 1 or herpes 2, but even like herpes 6, which is not an STD, but it can affect your immune system. So having these issues that people don't know that got reactivated can really be problematic. So it's really important to make sure that you're being tested to make sure that these old viruses are not reactivating. And how do they reactivate? It can be through a stressor like a divorce, a loss of a loved one, a move, or it can actually be through a virus. So that could be contributing to your symptoms. So it's really important to speak with your doctor and have the conversation about having your viral panel and making sure that nothing has been reactivated. Additionally, looking at food sensitivities. Now, when we think about allergies or food sensitivities, people may say, well, I've been to an allergist and I don't have any allergies. But if you're not feeling well, you may actually have an issue with some of the things that you're eating that you think are healthy, but they're not necessarily good for your body. And if you go to a traditional allergist, they may do what's called IgE allergy testing. So they're checking for something that might land you in the hospital, but they're not necessarily testing for something that is just going to make you tired, make you bloated, not make you feel well. So it's really important to get this done. And there's some companies that do it like Life Extension. You can get a mail out allergy test, or also there's another lab, I think it's called MDL. If you're in New York State, it's a little bit harder, but you can get allergy testing in a lot of other places, or you can mail out for that. So I would really find out if you have food sensitivities. Another thing you want to look into is mold. And that's an issue because sometimes people don't realize that there can be mold in your environment and you don't necessarily smell it, but it can definitely affect you. And that's why there's what's called sick building syndrome. If you've ever noticed that you feel well in a certain area when you're away from home, but then you're in your house or in your office and you feel kind of crappy, mold can definitely be a trigger. And the same thing goes with chemicals. Chemicals is another trigger that can really set you off. And you know, we think of chemicals as far as having whether it's personal care products or laundry detergents or makeup and things like that, but you can have chemicals in your house that are just even connected to your furniture